G'day guys, Glenn Watt here from Darwin in Australia's Northern Territory. I tell you what, it's a wonderful place, this country of ours, full of adventure and beauty around every corner. And over the years I've been lucky enough to have a pretty good look around the whole joint. From the wild hills and icy waters of Tassie through to the endless deserts in Central Australia. And of course the tropical north, the place we call the top end. I'm just getting a bit of gear together today for a bit of a weekend trip out to one of our favourite little fishing holes in Kakadu National Park. We've got about an hour and a half drive to get the border of the park and then a further 2 hours after that to get to the camp. Ideally we'll get there before dark so we can set up and settle in for a good night's sleep and get fired up for a big day on the water tomorrow. Hopefully catching a few barramundi. You never know your luck.
Well, here we are at Yellow Waters. I tell you what, it's pretty early and the mozzies are friendly. We've got about a 20-minute drive up to where we're going to go for a fish this morning, so we'll get going and see how we go when we get up there.
Little boy.
There you go. Look at this little fella. This is what we've come here for. Little barramundi. Fairly dark colour because he's been in this swampy water. And he just ate that frog straight off the top. I'll just put him back in. I'll show you about the frogs. All we're doing this morning while this sun's still down a bit is running these weedless frogs across the top of the lilies there. And they slide along top of the lilies without getting hooked until a fish comes up, and you set that hook, drive it into him nice and hard, and hopefully try not to get tangled in the lilies on the way back. Here's another one of these little billabong barra here. Now you can see the little barra, no matter how big or small he is, has actually got pretty big scales. The word barramundi is actually a derivative of the Aboriginal word which means large-scaled fish. And these little blokes, no matter how big they are, they can be this big or a fingerling or a metre long, they've still got the same number of scales. 1,274 I think, apart from that one there. This little fella here is a Saratoga. Well, they're actually a very prehistoric fish, as you can see. They love this surface feeding, and they're really helped out by that really upward slanting jaw there. Couple little whiskers here, little Fu Manchu moustache, and they're actually a very prehistoric fish in that they sort of stopped evolving 100 million years ago, and they still actually brood their young inside their mouth there. Mum will carry up to 100 eggs in her mouth until the little fish get strong enough, and she'll actually go and let them out on the edge of the bank there for a while, have a swim around and actually guard them, safe from predators, and then gather them back in and off they'll go again. So I'll let this little fella go and see if we can get a bit bigger one. Now, even though it might be 35 degrees out here, that little bloke there is a pretty good reason not to have a swim, I reckon.
You're like a terrible crocodile person. So.
Now, you might have guessed it was going to get a bit hot out there in the billabong, so we've escaped here to the Barcut for a bit of relief. We come across these little patch of bees here, these native bees, and you can see they've been in there for some time. I've actually seen video of this particular post here probably from 10 years ago, so they've still been in there for a while. All this post here would be hollow and probably chock-a-block full of honey. So if you couldn't scrape up a couple of bucks for a cold beer, you could come here with your chainsaw or your machete, chop in there and get a nice feed of honey. I think I'll stick with a can though.